I have been a huge champion of yours since Sundance.
I saw that. Thank you.
I'm always on Twitter going, y'all should check her out. Y'all should check her out. Even before it got released, I was like, y'all need to watch Clemency. Y'all need to watch Clemency. I was all about some Clemency.
Thank you.
Because when I watched it at Sundance, it messed me up. It is one of those films that after you watch it, it sits with you for a minute. Every word that was spoken, every scene that was played out, I can remember it vividly, and I can't say that about a lot of films. Girl, how did you go from being like a black person in Alaska to teaching screenwriting in prisons? That is the pressing question. Inquiring minds want to know.
So first of all, my parents are petroleum engineers.
Right.
So oil.
Right.
So that's what got us to Alaska.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to be a filmmaker since I was 13, but I was too scared to... I wasn't even scared. No, I was a child of Nigerian immigrants. And so I made a short film when I was in college to help me get into film school. And that also was kind of cathartic for me to explore. I went to a predominantly white institution.
So did I. We have that in common. I was a military brat, and more often than not, I was the only person of color in my schools, or one of the few in my schools. Yeah.
Yes.
Until I went to Howard. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. We'll talk about that, okay? I mean, off the record.
And so the doc I made was about being a black woman on a predominantly white campus, and it was just navigating that experience. And I was focused, man. I did a short every year. I knew when I graduated I was going to do my first feature. I was just on it. But I was in my ego about filmmaking. It was attached to outcome and external validation and success. And so I think consequently some of my work suffered because I wasn't focused on craft as much as I was on the external outcome. And I learned that lesson after making my first feature. And so after I took some time, I also started teaching in grad school. And teaching was something I did solely for money at first, but it completely changed my life. It is the single most transformative thing I've ever done. Well, I kept teaching, and I've been teaching for over 10 years. So when I decided to make Clemency, I knew that it was important to advocate for the people who are incarcerated, the people whom I'm representing in the film. And as I was spending a lot of time in the prisons working on Clemency cases, I just decided I need to take my college curriculum to the prison.
Brian Stevenson's film, Just Mercy, he's dealing with it from a legal standpoint, or somebody that's legal that feels like this is somebody's mother, brother, father, sister, cousin, whatever. Just because they've created some heinous crime in some instances doesn't mean they should go without mercy. And in your film, Clemency, you have this character played by Alfre Woodard, Bernadine, who is struggling at all ends of her life, in her professional life, in her personal life, but she still has compassion for these people, especially that one. At the end of the day, being someone who's worked in the prison system and has seen what all of that is, how do you feel about capital punishment at this point? Has working in the prison system changed your mind about capital punishment?
I mean, before I started writing Clemency, I was against capital punishment.
Okay.
And so that stayed the same.
But that has not shifted.
That's not shifted. But my deepened empathy for those who are incarcerated and expanded through this process. And I was able to see up close and personal how so much of this could have been avoided if our societies would have seen a lot of people who are incarcerated as human beings and have invested in them and their potential for greatness. The trajectory would have been completely different. And so I saw that up close and personal. I also learned the valuable lesson that I can't define people by their worst possible acts. And I take that with me everywhere I go.
You and Brian have that in common. I hope that have you all met yet?
I have met him a couple times. He's like a personal hero of mine. Are you kidding?
Because I'm like, y'all are kind of in the same way.
Oh my God, no, he's a personal hero. I've learned so much from him, and he's a personal hero of mine. And Just Mercy is an excellent book, and he's like, have you met him?
I haven't met him, but I've interviewed him. I'm going to meet him on Saturday. I'm going to New York.
You're going to feel the energy. He's like...
My mom loves him. My mother the reason I even paid attention to Brian Stevenson is my mother saw him do a TED Talk, and she was like, you got to meet him. You got to talk to him. This season is unprecedented with the amount of films that female filmmakers have made. Women of color and non-women of color. It's been 10 women. 10. I counted them. 10. And I saw all 10 of the films. How about that? So I'm I don't know about you, but I'm a little annoyed. I'm a little annoyed as a female film critic of color that we have 10 excellent films, better than some of these films that are out here by these men, no shade, that are not being recognized. And I'm wondering, what advice do you have for someone like me on this end of the spectrum to kind of help change that trajectory?
I mean, I think it's a couple things. I think that to do what you've been doing, continuing to support us and watch our films and buy the movie tickets and spread the word and just continue to champion us and encourage other people to champion us. I think that that's absolutely critical. I think that, from the filmmaker perspective, it's tough because my film Clemency wouldn't have the platform that it's had and wouldn't be where it's at unless it won at Sundance, and I'm clear about that.
And congratulations on that, being the first woman of color to win the Grand Jury Prize. Yes.
First black woman. There are other women of color, but first black woman.
That's what I'm saying. Did I say woman of color?
You said woman of color.
Look, first black woman. Let me be clear. First black woman to win. Yes, ma'am. And correct me.
And so because there are other women of color who won. And so I'm aware of what those external accolades can do, but along with that, I've really had to detach from the ego of it and focus on the work. But it's a catch-22 because my opportunities and possibilities have expanded since Sundance because of the win. I don't know how concretely to have institutional change other than the decision makers have to change. Except the decision makers who remain need to be intentional about being allies.
Do you think that moving around as a kid, especially growing up in Alaska, mm-hmm. do you think that gave a big, huge input into your future filmmaking or your future as a filmmaker and as an artist?
What do you mean?
Because I know that I was a military brat, so I moved all over the place.
Okay.
And I find that my lens on life is very different than most people because of that. Mm-hmm. So I was just wondering, since we had that similar experience, mm-hmm. if your lens in life was colored by moving around and being the only one or being the one of the few in a situation.
Being a Nigerian American woman in Alaska, having to navigate that kind of those cultural dichotomies has absolutely transformed the way that I see the world. I mean, my life has existed in the gray. I was not Nigerian enough. I was not black enough when I would get ridiculed by in college because I grew up in Alaska.
Right.
But my name is Chinonye Chukwu. But okay.
You're like, this is my name.
This is my name. I was born in Nigeria. But, or I wasn't American enough, or I wasn't this enough. And so I was always in this in-between space. And I think that definitely has helped my filmmaking in that I really am intentional about creating characters who also exist in the gray, which I think is what we see in Clemency.
After this has had nationwide release, what is the one thing you want people to know about Clemency? Because I know what I walked away with.
What'd you walk away with?
I walked away with a sense of reevaluating how I look at people in the prison system.
That's
what I walked away with. I walked away with having compassion for the people that have those jobs. Because when I've had some family members that were incarcerated, and when you walk into those facilities, the prison guards and the wardens and everyone that works there, they seem so mean and so cold, and we oftentimes forget they have issues and they have home lives, and they have, that's a job that emotionally and physically takes a toll on you. Mm-hmm. And we forget that when we walk in and when we walk out. Mm-hmm. So that's what I took away.
I mean, I think you nailed it. I want people to have more empathy and compassion for those who are incarcerated and for the humanities that are directly tied to incarceration, bare minimum. And the people who never thought about capital punishment or prisons, I want them to know the humanities that are at stake when we say that someone should be thrown in prison and we should throw away the key.
Well, thank you, my Alaskan, Nigerian sister.
Yes.
Grand Jury, Sundance winner. I'm so happy I had a chance to talk to you.
Likewise.
Because, girl, I'm telling you, when I saw that film, I was like, it was going to be my life's mission at some point to talk to you. I didn't care if it was on camera, off camera, where it was. I didn't care how it was. I just knew I had to speak to you. I had to.
Thank you. I mean, I appreciate you seeing this film and supporting me and supporting the film, and I genuinely mean it. Like I see you, and it goes a long way.
And I see you right back.
Thank you.
Thank you.